Trixie's Forest Retreat by Crow's Crow. Chapter 62. Recipe. Despite Trixie staring her sharpest daggers at Rainbow Dash, she told the story anyway. At least she had taken care not to identify the true origin of the tale. Instead, she spun an admittedly scary story about an earth pony that had tried to fly using a pedal-powered contraption and plummeted to Earth as it came too close to the sun, screeching her head off until it discovered it could in fact fly. From that day forward it was said to fly screeching at night, looking for unsuspecting earth ponies or unicorns that were out after dark in order to teach them how to fly too, with no successful students thus far. Trixie felt like the impact of the story was diminished by the fact that Rainbow Dash's audience consisted of a unicorn that knew the truth, and Pegasus already capable of flight. There was no doubt in her mind that Rainbow Dash was aware of this, as the grin on her face every time she looked at Trixie when she mentioned the words screeching mare grew each time Trixie reacted. Mercifully, the story was a fairly short one. And in the morning, they found the little unicorn all over the street. Right, and how come no pony has ever read about that in the newspaper? Trixie smirked. Well, the pony was the local news editor, so they couldn't run the story. Rainbow Dash beamed. A low growl rose up from her stomach, preventing Trixie from pressing on further, and Rainbow Dash quickly followed up. Oh man, I am hungry. I could eat a hay bale. Fluttershy, do we have anything good? Fluttershy? Rainbow Dash trailed off as she laid eyes on Fluttershy. Quivering, Fluttershy had set her hooves on her ears somewhere during the story, and closed her eyes tightly. Only after a few pokes from Rainbow Dash did she lift one hoof off an ear and peeked out of one eye. Is it over? Rainbow Dash chuckled while she nodded, reaching out one hoof to stroke through Fluttershy's mane comfortingly. Yes, Fluttershy. And hey, you made it all the way to the end this time. I'm pretty sure you are getting better at this. Trixie rolled her eyes. Sure, she would have expected Fluttershy to be easily scared by ghost stories, but not stories where she was literally immune to the monster. It is because she used to be bad at it? Ah, yes. She did tell Trixie that she fell off Cloudsdale once. Maybe it brought back memories. Still, as silly as it seemed to Trixie, Fluttershy looked just adorable as she took comfort in the hoof running along her mane. Beginning to reach out to hoof as well, Trixie glanced up at Rainbow Dash, and pulled back hesitantly. So, about dinner. You should feel honored, because Trixie will make pancakes. Trixie beamed proudly. Rainbow Dash looked at Trixie incredulously. Whoa, hold your horses. You aren't allowed to do chores yet. And even more important than that, you can cook? Raising a brow, Trixie slipped off the couch and pointed a hoof at Fluttershy. Ask Fluttershy. Trixie can do chores now, it's been a week. Trixie even helped Fluttershy take down branches. She puffed up her chest, proud to at least be able to act as if she was pulling her weight. Now, instead of giving Trixie dumb looks, tell her what you want on yours. Trixie. You can do chores, but I don't think you should handle fire just yet, Fluttershy said, making Trixie's smile falter. But, pancakes. Trixie offered. Are you sure? Fluttershy looked concerned, clearly insistent to keep Trixie away from anything that might hurt her. Relax, Fluttershy, I say we give her a chance. Rainbow Dash gave Trixie a smile. Syrup and cinnamon, we'll see if you are as good as you claim, Trixie. That's some sweet tooth. Maybe Trixie will get a taste, after Rainbow Dash has eaten it all. Trixie blushed lightly at the thought and quickly tried to press on. All right, Trixie accepts. Trixie turned to a Fluttershy expectantly. After staring at Trixie for a few moments, Fluttershy finally relented. Okay. Strawberries please, Trixie. But please tell me if you need any help. Fruity. Trixie quickly turned her back to the pair so they couldn't see her face and laughed heartily while she walked away from the pair on the couch. The great and powerful Trixie can handle some utensils. Don't go anywhere. Trixie can make pancakes with her eyes closed. Feeling as if she was walking on air, Trixie trotted into the kitchen. This was going to be great. She could make something delicious and impress them both in a single go. All right, pancake time. She called out loud enough that was pretty sure they could still hear her, then closed the kitchen door behind her and smiled while looking around. Now, where does Fluttershy keep the cookbook? With another growl from her stomach, Rainbow Dash gave a look at the kitchen door while she rubbed a hoof over it, trying to quiet the beast down. Ugh, what is taking her so long? It's been 2 days. Fluttershy giggled. Oh, come on, Rainbow Dash, it's barely been an hour. I guess. Rainbow Dash groaned. She had hoped to hear a call of dinner for the past hour, but all she got to hear from the kitchen was the occasional sound of objects falling, followed by a cry of increasing frustration. Well, even if I am hungry, it's nice to have some time with Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash smiled at her precious friend, sitting closely beside her. A look of worry was clearly written all over Fluttershy's face, making Rainbow Dash wonder when she would finally snap and rush into the kitchen to salvage what she could. Trying to keep both their minds off the kitchen, Rainbow Dash launched into a tirade about her day and just how everything should have gone. After Rainbow Dash had complained enough about hers to be cited for a while, and she was caught up to speed on Fluttershy's day, there was a lull in the conversation. So oh yeah, Fluttershy, has Twilight dropped by? Rainbow Dash asked, laying her head down on the armrest. Twilight? No, I don't think so. Why? I asked her if she got any books from what was left of Trixie's wagon. She said she'd look into it and come bring them over if she found them. I guess not then. Rainbow Dash chuckled awkwardly and let her gaze travel through the room. Come on, Rainbow. You can think of something more interesting to say. Her eyes fell on the bathroom door, still open. Hey, Fluttershy, do you still make those honey soap and things yourself? They were really good. Fluttershy smiled at the praise and nodded. I do. Would you like some to take with you, Rainbow Dash? I don't mind. Scratching her chin, Rainbow Dash let her gaze fall back on Fluttershy. Let me think about that. She paused and raised her hoof up higher, sniffing it. The honey scent was strong. Then looked to Fluttershy and leaned in, letting her muzzle run along the fur of Fluttershy's foreleg. The soft fur tickled her nose as she breathed in. Sitting back up with a grin, Rainbow Dash shook her head. No, I definitely like it better on you, Fluttershy. A sweet scent like that it suits you, Rainbow Dash said with a blush, her eyes raising to meet Fluttershy's. Rainbow Dash could feel her legs go weak while she admired the kind eyes, or eye rather as one was hidden. Staring back at Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy half hid behind her mane while she tried to form words, but her attempts were interrupted when the kitchen door finally opened. Trixie looked over the kitchen. It was a complete and utter mess. Broken eggs, flour, batter, gooey pancakes, and sugar was strewn across the floor and counter, and half of her face was white due to trying to wipe her mane, definitely not her tears of frustration, out of her face with a flour-covered hoof. It had completely slipped Trixie's mind that she had no magic, leaving her with only her hoofs to perform all those complicated tasks. Which would not have been really that much trouble, if not for the annoying side effect of her injury. It affected her fine control over her hooves, so much so that she could not even make a hay sandwich without Fluttershy's help. Alright, so it had taken Trixie a little longer than she had planned, but nothing was going to stop her once she had made up her mind. Not even repeated and infuriating failure. Her prize was standing on the kitchen counter, surrounded by charred earlier attempts, 3 plates with beautiful stacks of pancakes. One smeared with strawberry jam, the other covered with syrup and cinnamon, and the last with blueberry jam for herself. Trixie beamed proudly at her achievement, then looked towards the cookbook she had propped open against her pot. To her delight, They looked almost like they did in the book. Perfect on the first try, Trixie. As if the great and powerful Trixie could possibly fail. Though she had yet to actually test them, they certainly looked the part. Setting everything on a tray, Trixie hastily cleaned herself up, then pushed open the kitchen door and made her way towards the couch, ensuring every pony had the right ones. Great and powerful pancakes, just as Trixie promised. Trixie exclaimed before she climbed back on as well and smiled brightly. While Trixie stared at the two of them expectantly, she noticed Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were looking pretty heated. We'll see about that. Rainbow Dash smiled, and without hesitation dug in. To Trixie's surprise, there was no complaining about how long she had taken to get the job done. Fluttershy looked at Trixie with an expression of great relief on her face. "Great job, Trixie. These look good," she said, then took a bite. Trixie could feel herself glowing with the praise. Of course, this is mere false play for Trixie. But this is a secret recipe, so you can't go in the kitchen until Trixie has put the ingredients away. She hoped that would keep Fluttershy out for a while. After an hour of slaving away over the stove, Trixie nearly did not even feel like pancakes anymore, but her rumbling stomach quickly convinced her. She eagerly took her first bite and munched, then froze. She looked up from her plate to find Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy each had similar reactions. "These are absolutely Moorish." Trixie exchanged a look with the pair of Pegasi that stared at her while they each chewed their mouthfuls, swallowed. Though not a single word was spoken, there truly did not need to be. They all knew, and that was enough for Trixie for the time being. She did not even waste time to boast, and immediately dug back in, a bright smile on her muzzle. Was there ever any doubt? Chapter 63. Rankle. What took over an hour to prepare lasted less than a minute, and soon the first empty plate clattered besides the empty cocoa mugs on the table. Rainbow Dash had finished first. Trixie was not entirely sure if she was racing them, but it was definitely something she would do. Trixie had happily indulged in challenging her on it, but was 2 bites behind. With her mouth no longer full of pancakes, Rainbow Dash was finally free to talk while Trixie and Fluttershy were still finishing their own. "Whoa, I was sure you were just bluffing, Trixie. Who knew you could actually cook? I loved them." Trixie felt her heart skip a beat. The praise was sweet music to her ears, but not so much so that she chose to ignore the implied insult. She swallowed her last bite, and smirked. "So, you only let Trixie try to see if she'd burn the kitchen down? Shows what you get for underestimating the great and powerful Trixie. That makes what? 3 times that Trixie has come out on top over you. Trixie wonders if you will ever learn your place below Trixie." Winking at the oblivious Rainbow Dash, Trixie noticed Fluttershy nearly choke on her bite. As if. I am always on top. I'll prove it right now." Rainbow Dash grinned and prepared to pounce. Even though she studied it, Trixie couldn't stop the heat spreading through her cheeks. However, a swift tug on Rainbow Dash's tail by Fluttershy made Rainbow Dash look back. The brief exchanged look apparently was quickly understood as Rainbow Dash turned back to Trixie. "Oh right, my bad. I mean once you are better, wouldn't want to be too rough with you till then." Compared to the others, Fluttershy had taken her sweet time with her meal. Though it was easy to tell she approved of it, she was just not as messy an eater. With what Trixie assumed must have been great willpower, Fluttershy resisted taking another bite immediately, after recovering from her coughing fit, asked, "They are really good, Trixie, is that why you needed a minute?" Although she was a bit disappointed, Trixie smiled at Fluttershy. She was always so caring and cautious. Yes, that is it exactly. You cannot rush perfection, and Trixie is nothing if not perfection itself. She swept her mane back with her hoof while she struck a pose to go with her boast, doing her best to show off for the pair. Rainbow Dash burst into laughter while Fluttershy just smiled. "You dare question the great and powerful Trixie? She reached up for the brim of her hat to pull down to cover her eyes in shade for effect, only to find it was not there and faltered for a moment as she remembered it was gone. Her face fell while she stroked her hoof across her unhatted scalp. Still laughing, Rainbow Dash pointed a hoof toward Trixie while she took a breath, readying her retort. But before she could do so, she felt a nudge from Fluttershy and looked towards her. Fluttershy stared up at Rainbow Dash, then briefly to Trixie before meeting her eyes again. Taking a brief moment to look Trixie over more carefully, Rainbow Dash nodded to Fluttershy. Letting out another burst of laughter, Rainbow Dash called out, "Hey, Trixie. That's cheating. You can't just start right out daring a pony, you have to at least ask if they want to do truth first." Shaken from her thoughts by Rainbow Dash's distraction, Trixie blinked confused at her. "Huh? What are you even talking about?" She looked toward Fluttershy for elaboration or a hint of some sort, but found her looking almost as surprised. Rainbow Dash, are you sure about this? I don't think Trixie wants to play." Fluttershy looked back to Trixie. Rainbow Dash just grinned. "Oh, maybe you're right, Fluttershy. She is trying to back out, isn't she? I guess she knows better than to challenge the champion." Puffing up her chest, Trixie huffed. "Huh? Champion of what? Anything you can do Trixie can do better, name a game." "Truth or Dare? It is on," Rainbow Dash called out with enthusiasm, taking Trixie by complete surprise. But before she could object, Rainbow Dash followed up. "The losers must obey the winner for a whole day. Are you still sure you dare take up the challenge, Trixie? Pick one, truth or dare." Trixie opened her mouth to call a stop to this, but then quickly closed it again. "Wait. Losers? That's plural." She quickly looked towards Fluttershy, who gulped and shifted in her place while she alternated between her two friends. Trixie let her eyes swap between Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy for a moment before she settled back on Rainbow Dash with a grin. "Obey for a whole day, huh? Don't come crying to Trixie when you actually do come crying, it will amuse Trixie." "Truth." For some reason, Fluttershy gasped as Trixie picked truth, and turned to Rainbow Dash, reaching out one hoof to her shoulder. Rainbow Dash, go easy on her. She doesn't know yet." Grinning widely with Trixie's answer, Rainbow Dash tilted her head when she was addressed, and she looked to Fluttershy. "What? But it's perfect. I'd totally win." "What on Equestria? Do they know something Trixie does not?" Trixie racked her mind, trying to figure out how a truth question could end the game so quickly. Maybe she'd ask something impossible, like to recount all decimals behind pi? But Trixie could just say she does not know, and that would be true. "Rainbow Dash, you don't want an easy win, do you? I'm sure you would rather have a challenge." "Wouldn't you?" Fluttershy smiled at Rainbow Dash while she appealed to her competitive side. "Oh, all right, fine," she grumbled and scratched the back of her head while she put some more significant effort into her question. "MHN? No. Aha! Rainbow Dash stared at Trixie with a wicked grin that sent a chill down her spine. "Trixie, can you really defeat an Ursa Major?" Blinking, Trixie was starting to get a feel for why truth questions were a bad idea. She glared at Rainbow Dash for a moment. "Trixie cannot." She saw Rainbow Dash's grin grow wider, but returned a smirk of her own. "However, the great and powerful Trixie can." "Hey, no fair, Trixie. You are not allowed to lie." Rainbow Dash scolded with an insulted look on her face. "I even gave you an easy question." "Trixie does not lie, she told you the truth." Trixie folded her hooves over her chest in a huff. "Then prove it." Rainbow Dash jabbed a hoof accusingly toward Trixie. Trixie rolled her eyes. How is Trixie going to prove it while she is in her current state? Trixie is too weak. There, are you happy? Trixie cannot do it now. She snapped at Rainbow Dash, entering into a staring contest with her while they each glared at the other. Finally, Fluttershy's voice broke through. Well, question answered. My turn. Truth or dare, Rainbow Dash? Fluttershy squeaked as she suddenly had both of her friends stare at her. If that's okay with you? Well, okay, I guess. I'll let you off easy since this was your first time, Trixie. Rainbow Dash stretched her limbs while she answered Fluttershy. Dare. I thought so. Okay, I dare you to. Let Trixie touch your hooves for a minute, she said with a perfectly innocent voice. Giggling, Trixie rolled her eyes. Of course Fluttershy would pick something completely harmless. Trixie should have. Wait, what the? Trixie froze when she noticed that Rainbow Dash had paled like a ghost after hearing the dare. Fluttershy smiled, yet Trixie could swear she saw an evil glint in the mare's eyes for just a second. No fair. Rainbow Dash tapped her hooves below her body, wedging them between her fur and the couch. We were supposed to take it easy the first round. Pick something else, Fluttershy. Trixie looked from one to the other in complete confusion. Either Rainbow Dash was a much better actor than Trixie had given her credit for, or this was really something she completely dreaded. Oh, Rainbow Dash? Trixie called out with a voice sweet like honey, and a bone-chilling grin on her lips. Fluttershy only said to take it easy on Trixie's first question, not the round. So will you give Trixie your hooves? Or will you submit? Fluttershy nodded in agreement with Trixie's explanation. She's right, you know. So. Just say I win. If you don't mind, that is. Rainbow Dash was trapped on the couch with a mare on either side of her, each hell-bent on trying to break her. She closed her eyes tightly and shook. No, you two are evil. This is cheating. Gah, fine. She suddenly rose up and shifted so she half laid across the couch. Rainbow Dash's back leaned against Fluttershy and her hind hooves extended towards Trixie, resting on the couch cushions. I am not giving in. Do your worst. Fluttershy and Trixie were both taken by surprise as Rainbow Dash agreed to the dare. By Trixie's estimation, she had gotten the raw end of the deal, staring down at Rainbow Dash's hooves, not quite sure what she was meant to do with them. While when she lifted her gaze, she found Rainbow Dash practically cuddled up against a blushing Fluttershy who wrapped her hooves around the suddenly squeamish mare, supposedly to keep her still. Well, it was her dare. Makes sense she would make sure she gets the best job. Trixie brought her attention back to the pair of hooves before her. Trixie reached out towards the hooves, but found Rainbow Dash pulled them away at just the last second, keeping a little distance between them no matter how often she tried. Finally Trixie looked up at Rainbow Dash's eyes. Rainbow Dash, they're only hooves. Stay still already. Or you lose. So shut up, I'm preparing. Rainbow Dash retorted, but she did not sound particularly confident about it. By this point, it was no longer an option to just let Rainbow Dash chicken out, as Trixie was much too curious about just what was up with her hooves that made her act like this. Trixie looked on for a moment longer, then stood up. You want to do this the hard way? Fine. Don't think Trixie needs magic to restrain you. Trixie trotted over the lame Rainbow Dash till she was straddling her legs and dropped down, trapping the toasty mare beneath her. The sudden warmth against her stomach was pleasant, invoking just a moment's pause in Trixie to appreciate the feeling before she focused on her goal. Rainbow Dash's hooves had nowhere to go now. Trixie looked over her shoulder at a very nervous-looking Rainbow Dash, and a positively glowing Fluttershy that held onto her torso. Upon meeting Fluttershy's eyes, she grabbed Rainbow Dash a little tighter. Trixie smiled, assured Rainbow Dash was properly held down. Don't worry, Rainbow Dash, Trixie will make sure you won't lose your dare. She will tend to your hooves a whole 2 minutes to make sure. Trixie smirked while she turned back and reached down towards the shaking hooves that tried to wiggle out from under her. After all, no pony wants an easy win, do they? Don't you dare. Chapter 64. Reflex. Rainbow Dash knew she was doomed. Completely and utterly doomed. She was trapped, in multiple ways. Her sense of honor kept her from simply giving up to avoid the issue, and the two mares literally held her down. Any moment now, Trixie was going to find out her secret. And knowing Trixie, that meant her life was basically over, because she would never let it rest. Rainbow Dash could not really see anything Trixie was doing, only having a good view of the mare's back and mane, which made it even worse as she did not know when it was coming. Looking back over her shoulder, Rainbow Dash shot the best glare she could manage at Fluttershy. "I will get you, Forthy." She squealed and kicked reflexively as Trixie ran the hoof along her sole. "Oh no, oh no, oh no. Rainbow Dash, you are ticklish. Ha, this is too good." Trixie laughed and gave another soft stroke with the toe of her hoof, sending shudders throughout Rainbow Dash's whole body. Involuntarily, she cried out again and did her best to squirm away, resulting in another impotent kick since the devilish unicorn was sitting on her legs, ensuring she could not defend herself. "Scratch that. Trixie was wrong. You are really ticklish." The glee in Trixie's voice was downright frightening, but what was even worse was the slow, careful experimenting that followed. No matter how much she tried to fight her reflexes, every minor touch made her flinch and struggle, and in turn make Trixie giggle. Rainbow Dash squirmed. "Darn it, Trixie. Quit messing with my hooves." "Never." Trixie looked back over her shoulder, then tickled along the edge of the hoof, making Rainbow Dash spasm and howl with laughter uncontrollably. During a brief lull, Rainbow Dash felt Fluttershy stroking her mane comfortingly. "Oh, don't worry, Rainbow Dash, time already started, there's only 10 seconds left." "What?" Trixie cried out alarmed and turned her attention back to the vulnerable hooves. Within a split second Rainbow Dash arched, curled up and fought against Fluttershy while she gasped for breath in between laughing fits. Fighting to get away from the torture, Rainbow Dash tried hard to break free and butt Trixie off her. Unfortunately she was so weakened by the constant giggles that she was not really a threat to any pony, no matter how much she would have wanted to be, and Fluttershy was able to hold her. Fluttershy quietly counted the seconds while she hugged Rainbow Dash tightly, keeping her from launching herself off the couch. 10, 9, 8. Laughing for the longest 10 seconds of her entire life, where she laughed, screamed, howled and strained against the two ponies with so much might that her limbs, lungs and jaw hurt, Rainbow Dash's only chance was to try to keep count during them. Thou hast 10 seconds. Stop. The tickling finally came to a halt, and Rainbow Dash went limp on a couch panting for breath. See, you can't beat, me. Wheezing, Rainbow Dash grinned pleased with herself. She'd done it. It was the absolute worst experience she had in recent memory, but she had withstood it. It was a good thing Trixie had spent most of the time just teasing her. As bad as that had been, it was nothing compared to those last 10 seconds. Above her, Rainbow Dash saw Fluttershy come into view, her long mane curtained Rainbow Dash's own face. I'm sorry, I miscounted. Actually there were 40 seconds left. Rainbow Dash's eyes went wide. She only said that to make Trixie get serious. Halfway there, hang in there Rainbow Dash, you can do it. She whispered, then gave a nod to Trixie. Rainbow Dash only caught Trixie's grin for a moment before she turned her back to her again, and everything began again. Another whole 40 seconds, she had to endure that whole thing again for 4 times as long. Rainbow Dash started to hyperventilate at just the thought. There was no way. Wait. Never mind, Her plea was entirely ignored. 40, 39, 38. Fluttershy counted down while Rainbow Dash could feel Trixie take the hint and go to town on her hooves again, tickling her soles, scraping along the rim of her hooves, and cackling evilly all throughout. Where Rainbow Dash's first 10 seconds had been spent trying to outlast the barrage, This time she only tried to do one thing, in between roaring with laughter and gasping for air: surrender and stop the madness. Trixie held true to her word however and dutifully ignored her every attempt at giving up. Finally, long since after Rainbow Dash had lost all semblance of sanity, the tickling stopped, and she collapsed on the couch exhausted and heaving. Her heart felt as though it was trying to drill through her ribs and escape. I hate you both. She barely forced out. Staring up at the ceiling, she tried to gather enough focus to figure out how to get back at the pair. For the time being she enjoyed the comfort of Fluttershy's hold while she recovered. Fluttershy leaned into view again, her face turned serious. Maybe next time you'll think twice about being so late during a thunderstorm, without letting us know. She pulled her embrace a little tighter, crossing her forelegs over Rainbow Dash's chest. Rainbow Dash blinked and stroked her forelegs along Fluttershy's. That's what this is all about? Trixie, who had apparently turned herself around as she was now seated facing her, leaned over as well. Well, maybe not what it's all about. Trixie grinned while she brushed her mane out of her face. She actually looked pretty tired from torturing Rainbow Dash, sitting comfortably on her legs still. Trixie believes it should be obvious who is on top here, isn't it? With a huff, Rainbow Dash sat up, reluctantly pulling herself free from Fluttershy, and pushed Trixie off of her. A satisfyingly easy task now that all her previous restrictions were lifted. Don't get ahead of yourself, Trixie, the game is far from over. All right. Trixie's turn at last. Rainbow Dash, truth or dare? Doesn't any pony else get a dare? Geez. Fine, I pick dare, but you can't give the same dare twice, so don't even think about it. Rainbow Dash crossed her hooves over her chest with a grumble. Trixie laughed and shook her head. What would be the fun in that? Trixie has a better idea for you, miss. I am not cooking. Trixie dares you to make snacks for all of us and bring them back here. Pointing one hoof toward the kitchen, Trixie made a shooing motion with her other hoof. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes, but moved towards the kitchen. I should have known better than to let you have any kind of power. We're right back to room service again, huh? Just you wait. Fluttershy giggled and shook her head. Are you going to be okay, Rainbow Dash? How about I make some more hot chocolate while we wait? Sounds good, Fluttershy, that will be a nice silver lining to this cloud. She grinned while pondering. Okay, let's see how they like hot sauce-laced snacks. As if reading her mind, Trixie called after Rainbow Dash. Hey, they better be good. And remember to clean the kitchen when you are done. Looking over her shoulder and smirked. Stop that, darn it, as if I, the Honorable Rainbow Dash, would ever have any plans to ruin the snacks or leave the kitchen a mess. Heck, I barely intend to use it. I'll leave it spotless. She pushed open the kitchen door, then gasped in utter disbelief as she laid eyes on the chaos within. What in Equestria happened in here? Trixie. Trixie's laughter told her all she needed to know. Since the next turn belonged to Rainbow Dash herself, the game came to a brief halt while she got to work. Even if Trixie was a low-down dirty cheat, Rainbow Dash carried out the dare as instructed, just with plenty of complaining while she did so. Meanwhile, Trixie lounged on the couch, and Fluttershy made preparations of her own. Chapter 65. Rotate. Eventually everything had come together. The three ponies, each with a fresh cup of cocoa, found themselves on a blanket before the fireplace. Several bowls worth of carefully prepared snacks had been placed strategically between them, all of which did not require any actual cooking, but Trixie never said Rainbow Dash had to cook something, merely make snacks. So it was that one bowl contained different kinds of fruit thrown together, another housed slices of bread smeared with various kinds of jam, and so on. While it had been satisfying to see Trixie moan in discontent about her lack of effort, Rainbow Dash still did not feel like it weighed up at all to the dares her two friends had put her through. The kitchen took absolutely forever to clean, but even that was much better than a seeming eternity of breathless squealing with laughter. Raising up her chocolate, Rainbow Dash sipped while she alternated her gaze between Trixie and Fluttershy. She had to get back them, one way or the other, and she was going to find the perfect way before the end of the night. My turn, Fluttershy. Truth or dare? Without hesitation, Fluttershy responded. Dare. It was no surprise to Rainbow Dash herself, but Trixie gasped in shock. Dare? Fluttershy, Trixie thinks you misspoke. Are you sure you didn't mean truth? You realize you will have to do all sorts of crazy and humiliating things, right? It, just does not seem like something for you. She stared at the timid Pegasus incredulously. Fluttershy shook her head and smiled. I'm sure, Trixie. Dares are only for a little while, the truth is forever. She turned her attention back to Rainbow Dash and gulped. So. Dare. Rubbing her hooves together, Rainbow Dash grinned wickedly. Savoring the nervous guilt look on Fluttershy's face for a moment, she considered if she wanted to get back at her immediately, or let her sweat a little longer. I knew you'd say that. Okay, let's see. I dare you to. Tapping herself on the chin, Rainbow Dash thought long and hard on what she wanted to make Fluttershy do. She could see Trixie and Fluttershy looking at her anxiously. Her reputation was riding on this dare, as there was no way she could keep her title of champion prankster if she did not top Fluttershy's dare. Think Rainbow. Oh, you could have her run through Ponyville naked. Wait, we're always naked. Guess I could have her shave first? That's stupid. Finally, she brightened up as the perfect idea struck her. Oh, Fluttershy? Do you remember that thing you were practicing? To talk with bees? Blinking, Fluttershy nodded. Yes. It's not really done though, I haven't had any time to work on it lately. Rainbow Dash did her best to contain her glee. Fluttershy had no idea which was going to make this all the more sweet. Trixie could not quite believe the weird turn this conversation is taking. Wasn't Rainbow Dash supposed to be daring Fluttershy? Did Trixie pass out without noticing? What's this nonsense about bee speak? Talk to bees? That's just silly. Bees do not talk. Trixie knows that much. All they do is buzz. Oh, are you learning to speak buzz, Fluttershy? Hearing the question, Rainbow Dash laid down comfortably on the blanket, and picked up a peanut butter sandwich, settling in for the long haul. Fluttershy giggled and shook her head. From the look on her face, Trixie could guess a small lecture was coming. Fluttershy always got this wonderfully enthusiastic look whenever she got to talk about animals. Oh, no, Trixie. Bees don't talk with noise, instead they talk with this amazing little dance routine. It is called the waggle dance because the bee dances in a figure-8 pattern. It is named that because while it dances in the direction of the food, the bee will wiggle its abdomen. Other bees watching the dance can tell all kinds of things from it, like how far away the food is. I've been trying to learn how to talk in their own language, because it's hard to understand bees sometimes, so I thought if I could speak bee it might help. Trixie had to struggle to really pay attention to what was said. It was just so easy to get lost in the otherwise so reserved mare's expressions and energy. Her eyes actually seemed to sparkle when she talked, or maybe that was the light of the hearth catching them just right. Either way, Trixie loved it. Trixie was not aware of that. Buzzing seemed more obvious. So, any luck with talking through dance then? Oh. Fluttershy deflated before Trixie's eyes. No, she said dejectedly. Finishing the last bite of her sandwich, Rainbow Dash spoke up. That's okay, Fluttershy. It's just because you haven't gotten much practicing yet. You haven't had time for it, but there's time right now. Hey, why don't you give us a demonstration? Fluttershy perked up and smiled. Oh, that's a great idea, Rainbow Dash. I'll go get my bee costume. She got up to her hooves and trotted towards the stairs. Trixie tilted her head. Really? You actually dress up as a bee? Wait, Fluttershy. Forget about the costume. Rainbow Dash smiled, and there was something in her voice that caught Trixie's attention. Fluttershy froze and looked back, blushing. No, I really should get the costume. Rainbow Dash's smile spread, turning almost lecherous. Fluttershy, leave the costume. I dare you to do the waggle dance, right now. Pretend there is honey on the stairs. Blushing scarlet, Fluttershy turned to face Rainbow Dash and backed up a few steps while she hid behind her mane. Are you sure you wouldn't rather see the whole thing? It looks much, better, I swear. Oh, I doubt that. Now, come on, Fluttershy. I dare's a dare, or are you giving up? The exchange did not make any sense to Trixie, it seemed innocent enough. Why are they being so weird about a little bee dance? Honey on the stairs? What? She struggled to recall what Fluttershy had said about the dance, because clearly Rainbow Dash had to know what she was doing if it was making Fluttershy so flustered. Trixie could see Fluttershy make quick glances towards her, before settling back on Rainbow Dash. I don't. Fluttershy's whole face was red when she sighed and lowered her head defeated. Oh okay. To Trixie's confusion, Fluttershy walked in two little circles, one on the left, the other on the right. On the line the two circles met she always walked away from them, then would turn to the left or right, walking towards them to make the circle and start over. Trixie doesn't get it, this is her dare? Trixie expected more of you, Rainbow Dash. Hey, don't take it out on me. Fluttershy isn't doing it properly yet. Rainbow Dash grinned and pointed at Fluttershy. You know, Fluttershy, Trixie is right. You are not getting off this easy, come on, there's more to this dance. Don't rush me. Please. Fluttershy mumbled as she turned towards them again. Fluttershy looked just horrendously awkward, performing a dance with no rhythm, in a room with no music, to only the clip-clopping sound of her hooves. She was still blushing heavily, but Trixie could see a look of resolve form on her face. Or was that resignation? Just as Trixie was starting to get bored of the odd bet and look towards Rainbow Dash to chastise her lack of creativity, but then a sudden movement from the corner of her eye caught her attention. She looked back towards Fluttershy, but only saw her turning back towards them again. Fluttershy's blush was deeper than before. It was only the second pass that Trixie understood. When Fluttershy walked away from them again, she shook her ear from side to side in quick wooden shakes, sending her hush tail swaying behind her. Trixie felt her cheeks heat up, and a quick glance towards Rainbow Dash revealed she was blushing as well now, squeezing her wings tightly against her back. That's more like it, Fluttershy. Hey, Trixie, do you suppose she should be buzzing to help her practice? Rainbow Dash tore her eyes away to look at Trixie as she spoke. Sparing only the sideways glance to meet Rainbow Dash, Trixie thought about it while she watched Fluttershy, noticing that she gave Rainbow Dash a glare. Fluttershy coughed as she began her wiggle portion of the dance again, causing Rainbow Dash to look over to check on her. This time though Fluttershy swayed her hips much more fluidly and slowly, Trixie could swear this portion of the dance lasted a few seconds longer than earlier, then Fluttershy turned around again to circle back. Her eyes settled on Rainbow Dash, who was watching her with her mouth open, then she smiled. Feeling a sense of recognition, Trixie smirked. Eyes front, Rainbow Dash. It's rude not to watch a show you've requested, you know. Rainbow Dash apparently did not recall she had asked any kind of question as she took no notice of Trixie's lack of an answer. Rather she focused on the show Fluttershy was putting on. The timid mare gradually gained in confidence as each passing she strayed further and further away from the bee dance, keeping only the basic steps. Trixie watched Fluttershy, she'd never have guessed she could move like that. The orange light of the fireplace danced over her fur in alluring patterns while she danced. A twirl made her mane swoosh along her face, hiding and revealing her eyes in turn, revealing a look of single-minded determination while the curves of her body flowed with her resolve. Rainbow Dash gawked with equal parts surprise and delight. Her wings unfurled as her full attention was drawn in by Fluttershy, knocking Trixie against the side of the head with the feathery appendage. It was barely worth the notice for Trixie as she found herself equally drawn to Dancing Mare. With her experience it was easy to recognize a pony taking joy in her performance, and Fluttershy most certainly was at this point. It was as though Trixie was watching an entirely different pony. Rhythmic, gyrating motions held her enthralled. To no beat but her own hoof falls, Fluttershy was completely immersed in her evolving dance. Her eyes swept over them with each turn, reveling in their reactions. The occasional quick spin sent Fluttershy's mane flying, and wafted the room in the sweet honey aroma of her shampoo. Trixie had lost track of time, but panting softly, Fluttershy finally came to a stop. She stared at the two of them with a bright blush across her face as if she'd only just realized what she'd been doing. She tilted her head down to cover her face with her bangs. Giving Rainbow Dash a quick prod with her elbow, Trixie clapped her hooves together in applause. Rainbow Dash took the hint and joined in on applauding Fluttershy's performance with great enthusiasm, then called out, "Whoa! Way to go, Fluttershy! That was some show. Trixie never knew bees were such great dancers, Fluttershy," she teased. "Trixie did not think you had it in you." Fluttershy quickly trotted back on her old spot on the blanket and sat down, still hiding herself. Well, it was a dare. I had no choice but to do it." Trixie stared at Fluttershy while Rainbow Dash gloated about her dare being the better one or something along those lines. So that's what she meant before. Even though she was embarrassed to death, she definitely got into doing that. But Trixie supposes she wouldn't normally get to try something like that. Another thought suddenly struck Trixie which made her freeze up. If that is what she made her best friend do, then what is Trixie in for? She looked over to Rainbow Dash, worried. As though she could read her mind, Rainbow Dash looked back at Trixie, and showed just the smallest of grins as if telling her she was right to be worried. It was then that Trixie took notice of something else, as her eyes drifted away from Rainbow Dash's eyes. She grinned while she swept her mane out of her face. "Going for a midnight flight, Rainbow Dash?" She motioned to the pair of magnificent wings, spread out in all their splendor. For a moment, Rainbow Dash looked confused, then followed Trixie's direction and looked to her sides. She gasped when she saw her wings and reached behind her to forcefully pull her wings against her back, blushing furiously while she tried her best to look unfazed. Maybe later, let's keep the game going, yeah." Fluttershy, upon Trixie's mention, had peeked out with one eye from behind her mane. She stared at Rainbow Dash, one hoof held against her mouth while her face was burning up. Oh my, did. Yeah. Yes game. Laughing, Trixie reveled in the moment. Somewhere in the back of her mind she was aware that any further humiliation she heaped on Rainbow Dash was definitely going to come back at her tenfold when Rainbow Dash got her turn to make her do something, but she was already going to get hell, so she might as well not bother holding back. With her wings managed, Rainbow Dash turned her full, undivided attention to an apple, as if it was the most important thing in the entire world. She bit off a piece with all the grace and natural behavior of an animated hard plastic golem. "All right, so next is you, Fluttershy." "Oh, right. Trixie, truth or dare?" Fluttershy's voice was softer than it had ever been, barely overpowering the rain outside. It was all too obvious Fluttershy was trying to spare Rainbow Dash for the turn. "Dare. Hit Trixie with your best shot," Trixie said, a little more eager than perhaps she should have, but Fluttershy's first dare had been so interesting to Trixie that she was impatient to find out what she could come up with next. To Trixie's disappointment however, Fluttershy dared Trixie to see how many cherries she could fit in her mouth. Even the juvenile humor that Trixie got out of that was dispelled after cherry number 15. Rainbow Dash did not miss the chance to take advantage of her inability to speak though. "Whoa, Fluttershy, do you hear that?" Hear what? I don't hear anything." "Exactly. It's silence, I'd almost forgotten what that's like. I wonder why it's back now. Piff-pa. After a good 20 cherries, making a complete mess of her fur, and cement the fact that everything would taste like cherry for a week, it was finally Trixie's turn again. Trixie looked from Rainbow Dash to Fluttershy and back, weighing her options as she rubbed her hooves together. Oh, this will be good. Okay, let's see. To keep it fair, Fluttershy only has had one turn, so, Fluttershy, truth or dare? Fluttershy smiled a little nervously. Dare. Excellent. Trixie dares you to. She stretched out the last word while she thought about it. This is Trixie's chance to make her do something good. Oh, how about a lap dance? Too close to be dance. Make her chase that annoying rabbit with a knife? A bit dark. Dare her to kiss Trixie? Trixie felt her cheeks flush. Trixie dares you to kiss. She froze. Looking at Fluttershy, she was reminded of her warning. Wait. Rainbow Dash will kill Trixie if she sees. A shiver ran down her spine when she recalled being pushed up against the cold walls of the castle. I'll kill her. That will upset her. Trixie's eyes darted to the corner of the room that Rainbow Dash and pinned her in for, making Fluttershy cry. Dust. Bunny. She could only hope that sentence made sense. While looking at Rainbow Dash anxiously for approval, there was no response other than mild confusion and irritation. Cola dust, Bunny? You're daring her to clean a single mote of dust. Ugh, I had to clean a whole kitchen, no fair. Rainbow Dash huffed. Yeah, yes. That's exactly it. Okay. Fluttershy got up to fetch a broom and sweep under the couch. Geez, I expected something better from you, Trixie. This game was going to be harder than Trixie thought. Chapter 66. Riffle. Trixie could not help but feel she had ruined the pace of the game after she chickened out on her planned dare, and tumbled all the way down to challenging Fluttershy to slay a speck of dust. The following dares had been nowhere near as interesting as the first two. The only exception was Rainbow Dash, who had dared Trixie to be a maid for a round. Which apparently included referring to every pony as though they were above her, and bringing in new drinks. Afterwards, Fluttershy had dared Trixie to balance on one leg, which was a bit tricky, but she was given a pass after they remembered that it would be especially bad if she fell and hit her head. By this point they'd done away with actually asking for truth. Hey, Trixie, bring me some grapes. Rainbow Dash shifted to a lay on her side and propped her head up on one hoof. Rainbow Dash, they are right next to you, get them yourself. Putting on a mock scolding face, Rainbow Dash clicked her tongue. TSK, remember your place. Trixie glared, but still got up to trot over to Rainbow Dash, snatching up the grapes. Yes, Miss Dash. She held them out, only to find Rainbow Dash opening her mouth, and closing her eyes. After a moment of Trixie staring at her with increasing fury, Rainbow Dash peeked up at her and stuck out her tongue, making a beckoning gesture. Come on, you know what I want. Despite herself, Trixie felt her cheeks flush when Rainbow Dash stuck out her tongue invitingly like that. Her mind wandered. She found herself staring at it for just a little too long, and she remembered what she was supposed to be doing, then lowered the grapevine enough for Rainbow Dash to eat some. Trixie, it's your turn now. Fluttershy reminded her. Trixie perked up. Oh, thanks Fluttershy. She set the grapes down and considered her next move when she felt Rainbow Dash jab her side. Trixie groaned while she looked down at Rainbow Dash. Fine. Trixie meant, thank you, Miss Fluttershy. After committing the smug grin on Rainbow Dash's face to memory, and plotting to make her pay for it, Trixie looked over to Fluttershy. To Trixie's delight, she found Fluttershy blushing. Just because Trixie called her Miss? Heh, so cute. Now that it finally was her turn, Trixie got another chance to make up for her performance the last round. She had to get something good going. Her only solace was that Fluttershy had technically started it with her disappointing cherry dare. That was weird, but now that Trixie thinks about it, it was so lame. Maybe Fluttershy feels the same as Trixie. Is she trying to make sure Rainbow Dash doesn't get upset? But then what was with the hooves thing? She definitely did not mind upsetting her that time. Somewhere, Trixie felt like thinking this much should have brought on a headache, but she felt a small triumph when nothing came. Trixie knew she had to come up with something soon, but now Fluttershy's behavior was puzzling her. The whole evening she's been switching between being perfectly nice one moment, and then, well, Trixie does not want to say mean, but maybe ever so slightly less nice than usual. Ugh, if that is the worst Trixie can say about her, then surely Trixie looking too much into it. Come on, Trixie. It's your turn. Rainbow Dash helped herself to another grape. Bringing her attention back to the present, Trixie smirked at Rainbow Dash. Patience, Miss Dash. Trixie will get to it in her own time. Trixie looked to Fluttershy and gave a smile, resolving to do better this time. She glanced over to Rainbow Dash, who she was still right next to. Okay, so, something that doesn't upset Rainbow Dash, or Fluttershy. But it is still great. How hard could it be? Trixie could feel sweat beading in her fur while she tried to think of anything good. Make her go out in the rain? But she'd be wet, and we'd have to dry her and Trixie might. Okay, not that. Have her kiss Rainbow Dash? Trixie felt her pulse quicken at the thought, but shook her head quickly. That's only once per game. Trixie would rather. She blushed and tried to banish the thought. Trixie had been ready most of the round to throw Fluttershy a hard dare. But now that the pressure was on, all she wanted was something safe. Dare her to close the bathroom door? That was so lame even she winced at the idea. Trixie felt guilty about holding back again and picking something simple. Trixie shouldn't feel this way. Rainbow Dash did not get mad at Trixie for Applejack, so she's okay now. It's not fair to her. Still, she couldn't bring herself to risk it. Applejack wasn't Fluttershy. Trixie, are you okay? Fluttershy's soft voice pulled Trixie's attention. The words themselves were not what Trixie paid attention to though. She grinned, and pointed a hoof at Fluttershy. Miss Fluttershy, Trixie dares you to scream, till Trixie's ears hurt. She found herself glancing at Rainbow Dash for approval. Rainbow Dash wore a bored expression, but at least she wasn't angry. Well, that's an improvement I guess, but we are going to be here all night now. Fluttershy smiled and took a deep breath, then screamed as loudly as a mouse in a library. Ah! Trixie blinked, and raised a hoof up to rub her ears, making sure they were still there. What the? Fluttershy, you talk louder than you scream. That's not right. She looked over to Rainbow Dash, but she was just snickering at this point. Oh, I'm sorry. Fluttershy said, even quieter. Told you. Hey, Fluttershy, come over here. Rainbow Dash patted on a spot on the blanket near her and Trixie. It will be easier if you are closer. Though I'm not sure it will matter at all. Then she turned to Trixie. And don't you think I didn't notice you didn't call her by her proper name, Trixie? Get on with it. Trixie rolled her eyes. It was getting annoying. Miss Fluttershy talks louder than that. Nodding at Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy sat down beside them and made herself comfortable. Trixie squirmed away just a little, keeping a bit more distance between her than Rainbow Dash did. Trixie shot a quick look at Rainbow Dash, then turned her attention back to Fluttershy. Taking another deep breath, Fluttershy closed her eyes tightly and yelled with so much intensity that it would overpower even the sound of a needle dropping. She looked at Trixie, seeming pretty proud of herself. How was that? Trixie was not sure what to say for a moment, then quickly raised up a hoof to her ears, rubbing them again. Ouch. Oh, Did you say something, Miss Fluttershy? Trixie can't hear you. Whoa, that's the worst acting I've ever seen, and I've seen Applejack try to tell a lie. Rainbow Dash laughed, and leaned in closer. One more try, come on, Fluttershy, louder. Trixie caught sight of that particular smile on Rainbow Dash's face. Something was up. Trixie, get closer, don't make it harder for her. After staring at Rainbow Dash in distrust for a moment, Trixie leaned in closer and perked her ears. She was not actually sure what it would mean if Fluttershy did not manage to do it. She had tried and didn't give up, but she definitely did not succeed. Maybe that's good enough? For the third time, Fluttershy took in a deep breath, but this time it was almost immediately followed with a loud, high-pitched squeal that shook the windows and pierced Trixie's ears painfully. Folding her ears flat against her head, Trixie closed her eyes tightly with a hiss. She only peeked when the squeal died down, and saw Fluttershy holding her sides protectively. Fluttershy had recoiled away from Rainbow Dash, and was staring accusingly at her. Rainbow Dash laughed loudly, her hoof was stretched out, and upon seeing Trixie she made a quick tickling motion in midair to demonstrate how clever she was. Despite the ringing in her ears, Trixie felt a grin creep up on her face and shook her head. Trixie should have known that he would know how to make a racket, Miss Dash. She looked over at Fluttershy and grinned. Should we make her pay, Miss Fluttershy? To her disappointment, however, Fluttershy shook her head. It's fine. So it's Rainbow Dash's turn now. Rainbow Dash recovered from her laughing fit, feeling very pleased with herself for giving Fluttershy a taste of her own medicine. 2 seconds doesn't really compare to 60, but it will do. With that, she had salvaged at least one dull dare and turned it into something amusing. She was not sure why, but for whatever reason those two seemed to absolutely insist on trying to bore her to death when it was their turns. Strangely, the problem only seemed to occur when they were daring each other. Rainbow Dash herself had gotten plenty of interesting or funny dares, even if she was the butt of the joke, and all of her dares were awesome. See, Rainbow Dash? Not so easy to come up with a good dare now, is it? Trixie teased while she turned to one of the snack bowls, selecting a slice of bread with strawberry jam. Hey, first of all, you are still a maid till I finish my turn, so that's Miss Dash to you, Trixie. Am I taking too long for you? Don't rush me, or I'll make you dry the roof. Rolling her eyes, Trixie shook her head. That's pointless, it's still raining. Exactly. Rainbow Dash grinned, then turned her attention back to the problem at hoof. What is up with them? They have no problem messing with me. I don't get it. Well, maybe it's easier to figure out what's up with Fluttershy first. Normally she's pretty clever, but she just made Trixie eat cherries and stand on one hoof. That's not like her. She doesn't usually do touchy dares, but she's had no problem giving me that monstrous hoof dare. So she definitely is acting weird. Hey, Fluttershy nearly crushed my ribs when Trixie straddled me, what's up with that? She lingered on the thought for a while longer, but was not making much progress. Trixie, could you refill our mugs with water, please? If you don't mind, that is. Fluttershy asked. Oh, sure, Miss Fluttershy. Trixie set down her bread on the edge of the bowl and trotted off. Then there is Trixie. She's been pretty well behaved all week, and I don't think she's told Fluttershy about our flight, so that can't be it. Her dares have been pretty good with me, but she really falters on Fluttershy's. Not to mention she keeps staring at me when she's supposed to be daring Fluttershy. Maybe she would rather give me more dares? If she's taking this long, one of us is probably in trouble, Miss Fluttershy. Trixie called out on her way back from the kitchen, a tray held in her teeth. She smiled a little nervously. She's not gotten back at Trixie yet, so... Oh, maybe, but she already dared you last round. So you are probably safe for this one, Fluttershy said reassuringly. Rainbow Dash brought her hoof to her muzzle, stroking it slowly while she watched Trixie return with a jug of water, refilling their mugs. Ugh, this is complicated. Don't they like each other? They've been living together for 2 weeks. You'd think they would be comfortable around each other by now. She blinked, and looked from Fluttershy to Trixie quickly. Wait, they totally get along when they are talking. Fluttershy barely ever stutters with her anymore. It's just... that's it. They aren't used to teasing or touching one another. It's such a pain to have to wait for her. Trixie always knew thinking was not her strong suit. Trixie supposes that's something she's not as fast in. Trixie gave a grin at Rainbow Dash, then raised up her bread again, fumbling with clumsy hooves for control over it as she brought it to her mouth. Grinning widely with her discovery, Rainbow Dash picked up a mug of fresh water to toast her sucksies. Of course. That's the difference. They are totally used to doing that with me. Okay, so I'll just have to let them get used to it then. But how? I can't just randomly tell them to start touching each other. Oh wait, yeah I can. It's my turn.